My Passion, 2018. A biopic on V. Alexander Stefan, an American polymath. Vladislav Alexander Stefan, My Passion, 2018. My Passion. A documentary on V. Alexander Stefan. Physics, Art, Society. This biopic is based on the books and other various works in physics research, arts, and higher education by Vladislav Alexander, Sasha, Stefan. Books for general public. The False Death Trilogy. The books of V. Alexander Stefan on Albert Einstein. Technical books for specialists and general public by V. Alexander Stefan. V. Alexander Stefan, editor, author. V. Alexander Stefan, founder, editor-in-chief of the book series. V. Alexander Stefan, translator from Serbian into English. Books about V. Alexander Stefan. This is La Jolla Cove in La Jolla, California, USA. One of Stefan's favorite walking places. Stefan will be walking here and telling you the story about his passion. Physics, arts, and the Stefan University. He will tell you also about some remarkable individuals worldwide he has had the honor to encounter. And he will tell you about some places worldwide he has visited, which got close to his heart. Passion, says Stefan, needs obstacles to augment her strength. As the story is about Stefan's works in various walks of life, you may think of him as the man of grandeur. On the contrary, Stefan is quite a modest man, who never makes small plans, always inaugurate great projects, and is convinced that the best life is lived in humility, hope, and patience. The content of this movie is given so as to provide the viewer with an easy access to particular sections of the movie that a viewer may find a special interest in.
Have you ever wanted to know how to say My La Jolla in Serb language, Serbian Serb, Montenegrin Serb, Bosnian Serb, American Serb, Australian Serb language, etc.? Well, here it is in Serb language. Moja La Jolla. Moja La Jolla. In Russian language you would say Moja La Jolla. Moja La Jolla. In what follows, I'll be doing some walking at La Jolla Cove and talking to you about my passion in a few words or more. And I play on my guitar and sing for you. Let me introduce myself. I am Vladislav Alexander Stefan, a theoretical physicist by training, who, in addition to physics, likes to do many other things with the same passion. I am 70 years old, and I love it. Guided by the voices from beyond, with a burning candle in my hand, I go forward to the place. I intuit it's not the end. Creativity, the queen of passion, for the reason of her own, is pushing me forward toward the goal, which to me is unknown. Creativity, my bride, keeps my heart on fire, with the bliss and pain, side by side, cursing me by our marriage, never to be satisfied. My passion alone is my driving force. We never part. All my activities are within her heart. She's all I have in my life's creative endeavor. She's my mistress, my joy and sorrow, my life's flavor. My passion is fierce and true, very much so. Why? Ask me not, I do not know. Johnny Cash, not only you, man, I've been everywhere too. When I look at this list and the places I've been to, thanks to my being a theoretical physicist, and places I have visited privately, I can say that I am a true walker. Johnny Walker's Scotch whiskey comes to mind. Or I can say that I am a traveling man. Ricky Nelson's song, I am a traveling man, comes to mind. I'm a traveling man. Or I can say that I am a time traveler, if you will. Dr. Faustev comes to mind. Johnny Cash used to sing, I've been everywhere, man. I would say, Johnny, you've been everywhere, man. But not only you, I've been everywhere too. I've been everywhere, man. I've been everywhere, man. Johnny Cash, not only you, man. I've been everywhere too. Yes, I've been to Alaska, north to Alaska, where the gold rush was on. North to Alaska, the gold rush is on. I make no small plans. The man is what he chooses to be. A man achieves the heights by standing upon the shoulders of men. Sir Isaac Newton says, if I have seen further, it is by standing on the shoulders of giants. I have been always driven to inaugurate great plans, which will benefit my fellow men. This is balanced by my love for simpler and smaller things in life, such as walking, alone or in the company of good friends, for example. This is a spot in La Jolla, San Diego, where I walk, think, and talk to myself. The midnight hour is the best time to be here. I have two more walking spots, one in Las Vegas and the other one on Beverly Hills, Los Angeles. This one in La Jolla is probably my favorite one. I'll tell you a few words or more about my passion right from this place in broad daylight. I speak several European languages and read Latin and Greek. Every particular language that you speak or read brings you a new particular mindset. It is the time travel, so to speak, on the time strings of different cultures, traditions and civilizations. Your intellect, emotion and intuition are enormously enriched. Quite often, when you speak a particular language, you cannot retrieve a proper word from the memory storage, but it pops out from another language storage. You have an accent in speaking any of those languages. You have an accent even when you speak your native language.
My passion. 137. The Crossroad of Classical, Relativity, and Quantum Physics. Number. The measure of all that there is. Mathematical physics. Mathematical medicine. The nature of time.
The Falstaff Trilogy. STEFAN'S work on Albert Einstein, paintings, writings, and movies. The Alexander Stefan. Works on Albert Einstein, paintings, writings, and movies. Albert Einstein. Friday, 11:30 a.m., March 14, 1879, Ulm, Germany. Monday, 1:15 a.m., April 18, 1955, Princeton, New Jersey, USA. STEFAN'S Paintings of Einstein. Einstein's Legacy. Einstein, the Sage. Einstein, Man of the Millennium. The Writings of the Alexander Stefan on Albert Einstein. Einstein's Revolutionary Wisdom. 7 Last Days in the Life of Albert Einstein. 2002. Regarding Inter alia Albert Einstein and Mileva Marich Einstein. 2005. Legend has it, Koch, the village in Serbia, Yugoslavia, is the birthplace of Einstein's equation, E=mc². Albert and Mileva pay visit to Serbia in September 1905. Upon their return to Switzerland, Albert submits the paper for publishing, which contains the most celebrated equation in the history of physics. The paper is published on November 21, 1905, in the German Annals of Physics. Albert Einstein and Mileva Marich Einstein in Serbia, Yugoslavia, in September 1905. Albert and Mileva Einstein. World Year of Physics 2005, and Muller. 2005. Thus spoke Einstein on Life and Living. 2011. The Einstein-Stefan Encounters. Time-hopping travel. Transcending the barriers of time. 2016. Einstein and the World. Timeline. Institute for Advanced Physics Studies. Stefan University. La Jolla, California, USA. 2016. Digital edition. Albert Einstein. The son-in-law of the Serbs, the Yugoslavs. 2017. The Alexander Stefan. Director. The movies about Albert Einstein. Big Bang Genesis and Einstein's Biggest Blunder, 2008. John Archibald Wheeler of the Princeton University, Princeton, New Jersey, the guest of the Institute for Advanced Physics Studies, Stefan University, giving a talk in La Valencia Hotel, La Jolla, California, 1991. You're the Genius, 2009. The Big Oops of the great physicists Newton, Einstein, and Bohr, and fictional Dr. Falstaff. I will address, says Stefan, the biggest research blunders of the great physicists Newton, Einstein, and Bohr, and I will allow my fictional Dr. Falstaff to express his own opinion in the matter. Newton tells us that there is ether as the underlying medium that supports the propagation of light, similar to the waters of the ocean that support the propagation of the ocean waves. Oops, currently, we know that there is no ether. For Newton, space and time form the stage of the existence. If everything would disappear, and in particular the human race, says Newton, the stage would still be there. Time, the time world, can never vanish. Newton had died without ever knowing about his blunder. Now, he knows it, but he cannot let us know that. Einstein tells us that if everything would disappear, the stage would disappear, too. Time, the time world, would vanish. Einstein also tells us that our universe goes from the everlasting to the everlasting, and he adduces the cosmological constant. Oops, currently, we know that our universe has the beginning. The experiments show that our universe is expanding. Einstein reacts swiftly and refers to his cosmological constant as the biggest blunder of his life. Niels Bohr tells us that we are unable to define the state of a living being in terms of atomic measures. The living matter and the non-living matter are two complementary faces of but one thing, matter. They are irreducible to each other due to the quantum complementarity as studied in quantum physics. Electron, one thing, has a wave-like nature, one face, not reducible to its corpuscular nature, its other face. Oops, currently, the physics principles of the non-living matter are successfully employed in the study of the living matter. Bohr recognizes his blunder, retracts it, and goes with the flow of the development of biophysics. Fictional Dr. Falstaff speaks here the words of wisdom. A human being is placed on the stage of existence. A human being cries out, "I'm not an actor, I don't know what to do." A hollow voice echoes, "Do whatever you can, as wisely as you can." Time, the time world, is there so that the human race can evolve in it. In other words, our universe exists solely for the purpose of accommodating the human race. As long as the human race of the Atlantis universe, our universe, and her 21 sibling universes dances the cosmic dance, the time world, the Atlantis universe, and her 21 sibling universes, will never vanish. Long live the human race. Albert Einstein and STEFAN'S fiction fantasy novel entitled The False Trilogy. Einstein, as immortal Hermes Trismegistus. Trismes.
Trisme, Einstein continues, has both immortal and mortal incarnations throughout the spherical time matrix. Once in a while I like to die, Trisme says. In my day as a physicist, Trisme, immortal code 11, and I, mortal code 5, could have not appeared next to each other in flesh and blood, due to the code 13 time knot barrier. One person cannot be mortal and immortal simultaneously at the same place. Only the 11 humans code 13, the guardians of our universe, can do that.
STEFAN'S dream, unification of time and energy. It is my dream, says Stefan, to see the unification of time and energy in physics. I hope that my dream will come true in mine on living years. Einstein, the great unifier in physics, unified time with space and energy with mass. I hope that in the not far future a genius physicist, on the level of Einstein, will unify time and energy. My fictional Dr. Falstaff, the Falstaff trilogy, had already achieved the unification of time and energy, based on the theory of ephemerons, the particles of time. Dr. Falstaff has been living in the world whereby the unification of the major entities of physics has been accomplished: time, space, energy, mass, time. Time, space, energy, mass, time. The nature of she-time. She-time. The nature of she-time.
The starting point of my life is the nature of she-time. I refer to time as she-time, as the feminine principle. This is my invention, so to speak. Since my childhood years, I've been interested in the nature of time. I deal with the nature of she-time in my 3 works: the Falstaff trilogy, Sursasar, on things qual the giver, the Supreme Being, whispers to a human being, and the Open World Manifesto, the new order scientific technological, qual cooperates. The nature of time is the central problem in physics, defining the physical reality, the existence of the human race. All major world religions deal essentially with the nature of time. According to one esoteric text, the celestial age of Aquarius, the next 2000 years, is the age of she-time, the she-water bearer. When you take pictures of a person from different angles, they all show you is the same person. This is not the case with she-time. The pictures taken of she-time from the angle of Einstein's relativity theory, from the angle of quantum mechanics, and from the angle of the physics of chaos, are different, so much so that they all show you it's not the same person. No doubt, she-time is a mysterious and a subtle lady who does not reveal her secrets easily. But, as any other lady, sooner or later, she will fall in love with a man, a physicist, and she will reveal to him completely and thoroughly her secrets. She did fall in love with Einstein, but not completely though. Some of her secrets she did reveal to Einstein, and Einstein did reveal them to us. I do not pretend to know, but it seems to me that physics will give us a complete answer on the nature of time. Again, I do not pretend to know, but it seems to me, once the nature of time has been revealed, the secret of human life, the secret of human immortality, and the secret of the creation itself will be revealed as well.
In his autobiography of 2008, the Alexander Stefan tells us about his creativity, the passion of his life, and about some other unfinished things. The nature of she-time, the coquette, has been boggling the best of the minds of the human race since the dawn of time. Albert Einstein harnessed her within the mathematical expressions. Niels Bohr ignored her, as if she had not existed. Stefan assures us that he will harness her completely. Just wait and see. Here is Stefan's poem on she-time.
Ah, the she-time, the essence of our existence. I will harness her. Somebody's told me that she walks as if flowing, with her hair blown behind, with her eyes deep and glowing. Ah, the she-time, I will harness her. Newton let her flow free, toward the end of the time flow, toward the time sea. Bohr had asked her politely, please get out of my sight. Quantum mechanics has no need for your light. Einstein fell in love with her by chance. He took her for her hands and started to dance. He made her circle around faster and faster, with her face shining bright. She felt good as she was traveling with the speed of light. She looked sexy on the time wheel. Who is going to make her stand still? I will. Ah, the she-time, I will harness her. Somebody's told me that with men she's a coquette. She giggles when she teases them. She sighs when she pleases them. She says bye-bye with a smile, after she has brightened their lives for a while. Ah, the she-time, I will harness her. Somebody's told me that in the darkness of the night, when she's out of sight, she's hunting a man of passion. When she spots him, she approaches him from behind. She says, as she taps on his shoulder, for you, I can be younger, or like this, or older. Ah, the she-time, I will harness her. Somebody's told me that she's a helper. She helps an old man to cross the street. She helps little girl to hold tight the hand of her mommy. That's how she is, soft and with everything at ease. Ah, the she-time, I will harness her. Somebody's told me that she adores children. She plays with them hide and seek. When they find her, she kisses them all. Every boy, she kisses on his left hand. Every girl, she kisses on her left cheek. Ah, the she-time, I will harness her. Somebody's told me that she's passionate in supporting of those that create. Then she destroys them, as if she can't care less, making everything pointless. Ah, the she-time, I will harness her. Somebody's told me that she's ferocious when she spots a rotten heart. Until she destroys it, she will not part. She circles a rotten heart like the python snake. She squeezes it until all is left is the heart's wake. Ah, the she-time, I will harness her. To be with her is like being in the wonderland, they say, but the farthest she can take you is her very own bed, or your very own dying day. Ah, the she-time, the wild wind of the mountain, the crushing wave of the ocean, as strong as can be. She'll be harnessed and mine, all mine, just wait and see.
The Stefan Hourglass 2001. There is, says Stefan, the beauty in the flow of time, the same way there is the beauty in the flow of a river. The flow is the form and the essence of life and living. Time oversees everything.
Mortals sing the song of life that makes you fly with a bird-like wing. See your dreams all coming true now in your joy of living. 11 joys of living and life, bringing the force to your daily strife. Physics has no the answer to the mystery of human life. Faith is strength lies in our heart, giving the hope to the human strife. 11 joys of living and life, bringing the force to your daily strife. Mortals feel your eternal being, up to the moment of your black line. Mortals dream your life and living, never lose your dream divine.
The Alexander Stefan in the Hug of She Time. Late 1950s, up to 2018. O time, says Marilyn Monroe.
As a very young woman, Marilyn Monroe wrote a short poem entitled O Time. I've been always impressed by her sensitivity, sensibility, and emotional intelligence. In my Faustev trilogy, I depicted her as a she-time who was in deep love with intellectual intelligence of Albert Einstein. In my trilogy, in April 1955, she drives from New York City to Princeton to visit secretly Albert Einstein. As fate would have it, that visit took place during the last 7 days of his life.
O time, says Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe has appeared. The group stops walking. In her baby breathy voice, filled with a deep emotional intelligence, she says, "Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Norma Jean. I am coming from May 29, 1962, from Madison Square Garden, where I have just saluted President Kennedy with the happy birthday, Mr. President. I did not like the way Peter Lawford announced me. He was joking about my always being late. Then he announced me, Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe."
Mr. President, the late Marilyn Monroe.
Unfortunately, in a short 2 months I would indeed become the late Marilyn Monroe. I died accidentally.
JF Kennedy shows up. Marilyn was sensational. After having had the happy birthday sung by her, I could easily retire from politics. It was a beautiful gift from her for my birthday. Her gift is truly a Zen Buddhist timeless moment that lasts forever.
The group has started walking now. President Kennedy joins them. Marilyn, with a deep cleavage, more than easy on the eye, walks along, wiggling her behind. "I wrote a poem, O time," Marilyn says. "I have asked she time to be kind to me, to ease my restless mind, and to loosen my cosmic loneliness, as she is devouring my flesh and blood. She time, the love goddess, comes and goes, leaving the scars in our hearts. She belongs to no one, as I never belonged to anyone, though I was kind to everyone. All we can do is to ask she time, to be kind to us in our lives unkind." After my death, I was ascended into an immortal woman, Code 9. By the grace of Hermes Trismegistus, Einstein, who is one of the mortal incarnations of Hermes Trismegistus, was my hero. It seemed to me that he had conquered she-time. Now, Dr. Falstaff, you are my hero. With Falstaffian immortality, human tears will be wiped out dry. The sorrow in the human minds, the pain in the human hearts, and the loneliness in the human guts will be gone forever. The 3 great questions of my childhood. 3 great questions of my childhood. As a child, says Stefan, I asked, "Do we live forever?" "No," was the answer. I had been aware that people do die, but I thought it was due to some kind of accident, not a natural thing. As a child, I asked, "When I grow up, shall I know everything?" "No," was the answer. As a child, I asked, "Are we in the center of the universe?" "No," was the answer. These intellectual disappointments got embedded in my heart at a very early age. As to our not being placed at the center of the universe, I was royally misinformed. According to Einstein, our universe is the surface of the expanding sphere, and every point on the surface of the sphere is its center, so to speak. Well, I am in the center of our universe, and so are you, wherever you are, and so is she, wherever she could be. That is truly fantastic. The flow of time. The descent of man. Religion as the opium of the people. This was in elementary school, when our physics teacher had said that time flows on its own, independently on everything. I felt a discontent by hearing that. Our biology teacher had said that we humans descend from the apes. I felt a discontent by hearing that. Our history teacher had said that Marx had claimed that religion is the opium of the masses. I felt a discontent by hearing that. On the other hand, knowing that life is not easy to handle without some kind of opium, Marx swiftly offered other opium, his Marxism. As to our being the immortals, my childhood dream might come true. Science and technology has already prolonged human lives, and maybe someday that can be perpetually done ad infinitum, so to speak, making humans live the thousands of years. As to my being the all-knowing when I grow up, my childhood dream might come true. Science and technology quite possibly can improve the features of the human brain, so that humans can be empowered intellectually, emotionally, intuitionally, and spiritually. New physics in the making. Neurophysics, stem cell physics, and genomic physics. Beat wave-driven free electron laser beam interactions with the living matter. By V. Alexander Stefan, Stefan University Press, La Jolla, California, 2013. Absolute existence and absolute knowledge. Now, as a 70-year-old man, when I look back at my yesteryears, I have realized that all my life, so far, has been spent on activities dealing in one way or the other, more or less, with my childhood concerns. I have become by profession a research physicist, which embraces my first question as to the center of our universe. As to the human immortality, absolute existence, and absolute knowledge, I have solved that problem in my fiction fantasy novel, entitled The Falstaff Trilogy, whereby Dr. Falstaff becomes an immortal human being of the code 13, the highest code on the ladder of existence. Dr. Falstaff's lifespan is about 100 billion years. What does this mean? Dr. Falstaff exists, meaning he lives on the 11-dimension time sphere, whose equatorial time length, according to the clocks on the Earth, is about 100 billion years. On that surface, Dr. Falstaff moves freely through 11 time dimensions. Dr. Falstaff also acquires absolute knowledge. Dr. Falstaff is the human being from the planet Earth, second only to Quab the Giver, the Supreme Being. Quab the Giver, the Supreme Being, from STEFAN'S Falstaff Trilogy. Vladislav Alexander Stefan, the Falstaff Trilogy, Falstaff, the Master Guardian of the Creation. The 22 Sibling Universes. Stefan University Press, La Jolla, California, 2011. As you see, these are quite general questions that we humans do ask in the darkness, as we are placed under the veil of ignorance. Where are we? You can answer it, ad hoc. We are in the center of our universe. What does it mean? Is the question of a completely different sort, out of the scope for the moment. This reminds me of a movie with Burt Reynolds. Two guys, apparently lost, are walking hesitantly and tiredly up the hill. One guy asks, gasping, "Do you know where we are?" "Of course," says the other guy, answering ad hoc, "I know where we are. We are climbing uphill." Should I reveal now, to the world, the general secret of the human life? All those concerns of yours, either conscious or subconscious, in your preschool and early school years, will follow you faithfully, will unfold consciously or subconsciously throughout your life. STEFAN'S Moscow years, 1977-1981. My Moscow years, 1977 to 1981. P.N. Lebedev Institute of Physics of the Russian Academy of Sciences, from 1977 to 1981, says Stefan. I was doing research in Moscow, coming from Belgrade, Serbia, Yugoslavia, in the thermonuclear fusion physics at the Lebedev Institute of Physics of the Soviet, now Russian, Academy of Sciences. In 1979, I got acquainted with many Americans in the American Embassy in Moscow. P.N. Lebedev Institute of Physics of the Russian Academy of Sciences. During my stay in Moscow, from 1977 to 1981, says Stefan, I had made research visits to the Physical Technical Institute in Leningrad, St. Petersburg, Russia, the Institute of Physics in Kiev, Ukraine, the Institute of Nuclear Physics in Novosibirsk, Russia, and the Institute of Physics in Tbilisi, Georgia. All my expenses were paid by the Soviet Academy of Sciences, for which I am deeply thankful. In Novosibirsk, 1979, says Stefan, my host was B.N. Braisman. Academician Agdeyev, a celebrated Russian plasma physicist, who was director of the department, had been at that time in Moscow, on a business trip. I met Academician Agdeyev in La Jolla, in 2007, as invited speaker, for the Stefan Frontier Conference, honoring famous American thermonuclear physicist, Marshall Nicholas Rosenbluth. The Marshall Rosenbluth Summer School, 2007, August 25 to 28, 2007. La Jolla, California. Academician Agdeyev was editor-in-chief for the Stefan Frontier Conference book, published by American Institute of Physics, Nonlinear Space Plasma Physics, 1993. Braisman was my guest in La Jolla as invited speaker for the Stefan Frontier Conference, Coherent Radiation Generation and Particle Acceleration, February 11 to 13, 1991, La Jolla, California. Alexander Prokhorov, Nobel Prize in Physics, 1964, whom I met in Moscow, in 1978, was editor-in-chief for the Stefan Frontier Conference book, published by the American Institute of Physics, Coherent Radiation Generation and Particle Acceleration, 1992. In Kurchatov Institute, says Stefan, I gave a talk in 1981 on barometric heating of tokamak plasma at electron cyclotron frequency range. My host was V.V. Alexeyev. Alexeyev introduced me to B.B. Kodomtsev. Kodomtsev was my guest in La Jolla as invited speaker for the Stefan Frontier Conference, New Ideas in Tokamak Confinement, January 27 to 29, 1992, La Jolla, California. At the Lebedev Institute of Physics of the Russian Academy of Sciences, I was doing research in the Department of Plasma Phenomena Theory, led by famous Russian mathematical physicist Viktor Pavlovich Selin. Viktor Pavlovich was my guest in La Jolla, California, in 1992, doing research at the Institute for Advanced Physics Studies, Stefan University. Viktor Pavlovich Selin was my doctoral thesis advisor.
Here is about this line, Russia is looking at me.
In spring 1978, says Stefan, I was on a 2-day visit from P.N. Lebedev Institute of Physics of the Soviet Academy of Sciences, Moscow, to Plasma Physics Department of the EINSTEIN Institute in Leningrad, present-day St. Petersburg, led by Academician B. The visit was arranged and paid by the Soviet Academy of Sciences. I gave there a talk on the parametric RF heating of tokamak plasma at electron cyclotron frequency domain. One of the collaborators in the Golan team, says Stefan, took me to the Winter Palace. There, we went to one chamber and approached the window. He moved aside the window drapes and pointed to the writing on the window glass. I drew closer. I saw the black writing on the window glass. In English, Russia is looking at me. The rest, you can read in what follows. Alexander Mikhailovich Prokhorov. Physics of the Brain and Quantum Computing. In our encounter, 1979, says Stefan, in the General Physics Institute, now in Prokhorov. General Physics Institute of the Soviet, now Russian, Academy of Sciences, Alexander Mikhailovich told me about his interest in the physics of the brain, and its possible connection to the quantum computing. Hotel Academic.
Гостиница Академическая.
Hotel Academic, says Stefan, was the place where I stayed during my Moscow years, 1977 to 1981. On your left-hand side, there is the October Square. If you walk straight forward on your right-hand side, along the Lenin Prospect, which is toward the south, you would reach P.N. Lebedev Institute of Physics of the Russian Academy of Sciences. If you continued your walk southward, you would hit the Black Sea. The famous Grigori Rasputin had walked from Siberia down to Orthodox Greece and gained his sainthood. Thereupon, the palace gate of the Tsar Nicholas II of Russia was opened for him, and his name was firmly embedded in the Russian history. 12th European Conference on Interaction of Laser Radiation with Matter and on Laser Fusion. At this conference, says Stefan, Soviet academicians Samarsky and Basov both emphasized the importance of fundamental scientific breakthrough that can be expected in laser fusion research. I am completely optimistic about fusion and laser fusion, said Robert Hofstadter, in Moscow, 1978. I met Hofstadter, says Stefan, in Moscow, Russia, in the late 1978, during the conference on the laser-driven controlled thermonuclear fusion. Academician Basov, director of the Lebedev Institute of Physics of the Soviet Russian Academy of Sciences, introduced me to Hofstadter. We had a long conversation in the cafeteria of the Lebedev Institute. I told him that I was planning to move to the States. At that time, I was in Moscow, doing research in theoretical plasma physics in the Department of Plasma Theory of the Lebedev Institute, led by Viktor Pavlovich Selin. Robert Hofstadter and Keith Brockner, says Stefan, had worked for KMS Fusion, a private company for the research in laser fusion located in Ann Arbor, Michigan. At that time, I could have not known that in the mid-1983, I would be working with Keith Brockner on the inertial confinement fusion at the University of California in La Jolla, UCSD. I never got to meet with Hofstadter in the States, says Stefan, but I had a few telephone conversations with him at the time, when I was working on the establishment of the Institute for Advanced Physics Studies, Stefan University, in La Jolla, California. He was at Stanford University at that time. I remember in one telephone conversation he said, "Keith knows all physics." I was happy to hear it, because I worked with Keith, and I was acquainted with his mighty research skills. Hofstadter, says Stefan, was a scientific advisor for the Institute for Advanced Physics Studies, Stefan University. After I had received from Hofstadter his biography, I found out that we had been celebrating the same birthday, February 5th. Hofstadter was born on February 5th, 1915. I was born on February 5th, 1948. Marshall Rosenbluth was also celebrating the same birthday, February 5th. Marshall was born on February 5th, 1927.
In the American Embassy, Moscow, I had an acquaintance, Richard Larkin, a U.S. Major General. Sometimes, when I would call his suite in the embassy, he would pick up the phone. I would hear his voice, "Yellow." His hello sounded to me as yellow. Yellow is a bright color. The great Goethe says that color yellow is the brightest color of them all. Major General was from Colorado Springs, Colorado, so I told him about Nikola Tesla, an American Serb inventor, physicist, and his laboratory in Colorado Springs. Major General knew more about Nikola Tesla than I did.
On one occasion, says Stefan, Major General Larkin, who is of the Irish descent, tells me that he knows his bloodline going several centuries back. I have swiftly reacted, saying that in Montenegro, Yugoslavia, the land of tribes and clans, every family knows its bloodline going at least a few centuries back. I tell Major General that my maternal grandfather Stefan Popovich had known his bloodline going back to the 16th century, to Duke Draculas, Illyrian for Alexander. My grandfather's bloodline crosses with the bloodline of Marko Popovich, the celebrated Duke of Montenegro. Major General Richard Larkin also tells me that the current American ambassador to Soviet Union, Malcolm Toon, who is of the Scottish descent, knows his bloodline deep into the past, as well.
The Slavic soul, deep, convoluted, mysterious.
The mystery of the Slavic soul has been boggling the minds of many a great thinker. Nietzsche had been continually perplexed with the Slavic soul. Some say that in order to start understanding the Slavic soul, and, in particular, the Russian soul, the first thing to do is to read The Brothers Karamazov by Dostoevsky. On Fridays night, says Stefan, the Marine Club in Moscow, the United States Embassy, was open to general public, and was the hot spot for the international youth. It was a Friday night fever.
Friday night fever. Friday night fever.
Major General Richard Larkin, says Stefan, the defense attaché to the United States ambassador in Moscow, my acquaintance, was successfully promoting friendship among the international youth in Moscow. I made many international friends there.
That Friday night fever. That Friday night fever.
I used to sing, says Stefan, the song, Russia is Looking at Me, to my friends in Russia. They loved it. My American friends loved it in a special way. If you had ever had a Russian girlfriend, I bet you would have felt like this.
When you are looking at me, I feel like I always be free. I feel like the whole world can see that Russia is looking at me. When you are looking at me, I feel like I always be free. I feel like the whole world can see that Russia is looking at me. Oh, Russia, my motherland, I'm longing to see you again. When you are walking with me, your body is swaying so free, your bright eyes so big and so kind are showing your powerful mind. Oh, здравствуй, my love, once again. I'll see you as soon as I can. My passion for you is so strong. I'll see you, it won't be too long. When you are looking at me, I know I will always be free. I know that the whole world can see that Russia is looking at me. Oh, Russia, my birthland, I'm longing to see you again. I'm longing to see you again.
I am convinced, says Einstein, that even if the United States and Russia were both capitalist countries, or communist, or monarchist, their rivalries, conflicting interests, and jealousies would result in strains similar to those existing between the two countries today. I would say there will always be a friendly rivalry between the USA and Russia. The Americans and the Russians are natural friends. I learned this during my research years, 1977 to 1981, in Moscow, at the P.N. Lebedev Institute of Physics, of the Soviet, now Russian, Academy of Sciences, at the department led by Viktor Pavlovich Selin. I was a guest of the Soviet, now Russian, Academy of Sciences, coming from Belgrade, Serbia, Yugoslavia. I had also research visits to the physics research centers in Leningrad, St. Petersburg, Kiev, Ukraine, Tbilisi, Georgia, and Novosibirsk. All my expenses were paid by the Russian Academy of Sciences, for which I am deeply thankful. This was in the spring 1979. I was on a research visit in Novosibirsk, Siberia. I took a cab in Akademgorod. As a foreigner, it was a custom to chat with a taxi driver in the Soviet Union. They were quite educated people about world's issues. I had that experience in Moscow, Leningrad, St. Petersburg, Kiev, Tbilisi, and in Akademgorod. The taxi driver told me he had had a party at his place a few days before. His brother from Vladivostok brought some California wine. Such a good thing, he said to me about the California wine. His brother was on a business trip in California. The cab driver loved the Americans and hoped to visit California one day. He said that his brother had told him that the Russians and Americans are very much alike. STEFAN'S books on America, Russia, and Einstein.
U Saši jest возможности потрясающие. Awesome are Sasha's capabilities.
This is, says Stefan, what my colleagues in Russia said about me. I do not like praises, period. But, this one, I do. Talking about being praised, says Stefan, being applauded, you may know, or you may want to know, that Phocion, 402 to 318 BCE, a student of Plato, was an Athenian politician who did not like applause during his speeches. It is referred to as the Phocion syndrome. When I am praised, says Stefan, I do not take it personally, but consider it as impersonal general principle of affirmation, which, at the moment, I am immersed in, through no merit of my own, so to speak. Similarly, when I am criticized, for good, or no good, reason, I take it as if having nothing to do with me personally, but, as a general principle of negation, which, at the moment, I am immersed in, through no fault of my own, so to speak. It is a positive attitude to value yourself and to permit others to be valued by, which is the truth of a certain level. It is a negative attitude to make too much of it, which is the truth of a higher level. Making the use of the general concepts of affirmation and negation is the liberating method to free your life from the rhythm dictated by others, and the liberating method to live and work within the rhythm of your own. My very last visit to Moscow, says Stefan, was in October 1981. On December 18, 1981, I was on the Pan Am airplane from Belgrade, Serbia, Yugoslavia, to New York City, commencing my life in America, and making my American dream come true, for real. Viktor Pavlovich Selin, the director of the Department for Plasma Theory at the Lebedev Institute, and my doctoral thesis advisor, organized a farewell party for me in the department. One of the collaborators said to me, "Sasha, we hope you will come to visit us from America." "I will," I said, jokingly, "when you erect the monument to me on the October Square." We all shared a laugh. As she time would have it, says Stefan, I have not visited Moscow ever since. But I had the honor of having Viktor Pavlovich Selin and his wife as my guests in La Jolla in 1992. Viktor Pavlovich was also my guest in La Jolla in 1991 as invited speaker for the Stefan Frontier Conference, Inertial Confinement Fusion, February 4 to 6, 1991, La Jolla, California. A number of the first-rate Soviet, Russian, physicists have visited La Jolla as the invited speakers on various Stefan Frontier conferences. My guitar and me. My passion. 2008. My Guitar and Me, by the Alexander Stefan. The original tunes and the rewrites of the Alexander Stefan. My she guitar had been very energetic lately. I hate to say this, but she had a power over me. I would do anything she would suggest, without almost any hesitation. She would invite my friends over for the jamming, and we would go to friends' houses for the jamming. We would take part together at various concerts across Yugoslavia. And we appeared for the first time on TV, when I was 15 years old, and she was hardly a year old. She was shining back, bright and happy, at the concerts, as the show light was shined upon her. She loved applause immensely. At the beginning, I did share with her the joy of the show lights. But at one point, I started not to. I stopped with my music performances in public in 1966, at the age of 18. Phocion syndrome. You may know, or you may want to know, That Phocion, 402 to 318 BCE, was an Athenian politician, a Plato student who did not like applause during his speeches. It is referred to as the Phocion syndrome. In my public singing years up to my 18 years of age, 1966, I tended to feel the same as Phocion had felt long time ago. Goodbye rock and roll. Hello physics. I used to sing rock and roll music in public up to 1966. My very last public appearance was in 1966 in Belgrade, Serbia, Yugoslavia. In 1966, I started my studies in physics at the University of Belgrade, Faculty for Electrical Engineering. It was hello physics, goodbye rock and roll. My last appearance in public was in Belgrade, Serbia, Yugoslavia, in 1966, during the concert Youth 66. It was the all-Yugoslav galore of young musicians. I sang my cover, in Serbo-Croatian, of Boys Cry, by Eden Kane. I was not fond of Kane's performance, it was too soft for my taste. I did like the cover, in Serbo-Croatian, by Zafir Hadjimanov, and the Italian cover, by Richard Anthony. Piangi ragazzo. Instead of Boys Cry, the Yugoslav and Italian covers have You Cry Boy. To sing You Cry Boy on my last concert was quite appropriate, as it was not easy for me to leave rock and roll for good. In the same year, I enrolled at the University of Belgrade, Faculty for Electrical Engineering. It looked like it was goodbye rock and roll, hello physics. But it has not been really goodbye to rock and roll. I do love to sing for my friends, privately. And they do not applaud me, just the way I love them to do. In the following, says Stefan, I will tell you about my friends, the celebrated singers in Yugoslavia, my old homeland.
Nikola Karović. Nikola Karović. Usnija Redžepova. Usnija Redžepova.
She loved, says Stefan, to hear me singing Hello Marilyn by Rick Nelson. I had sung that song in 1963 for the Montenegro TV. The TV should have that footage.
She would sing it in her rhythm. I tried to do the same, but no way, Jose. Sooner than later, I would lose the rhythm.
Hello, Marilyn. Goodbye, heart, sweet Marilyn. I'm so in love with you. I knew, Marilyn, we'd never part. So hello, Marilyn. Goodbye, heart.
Zoran Leković. Zoran Leković.
In the early 1970s, Zoran Leković was a teenager, and already very famous in Yugoslavia. Zoki was a wunderkind singer. He was both a teenage idol, and the idol in general. We would go places together in the center of Belgrade. He had a hard time to figure out my ways, especially with girls, and used to say, Sasha is the darkness. I would comfort him by singing his very own song, She's the most beautiful in the world.
Ona je najlepša na svetu, ima li ne razumeš to?
Sabina Varešanović. Kemal Monteno. Sabina Varešanović. Kemal Monteno.
Sabina and I sang a few songs in a duet as we were walking the streets of Titograd. I remember we sang Italiano by George Marianovich. I gladly remember my childhood days. Recently, I have made a rewrite, including the song "Oh the Moon, the Shining Star," sung by the legendary Yugoslav Serbian folk singer Lebedev. It goes like this.
Back in my childhood, I had a friend. We used to play the soccer game all day long. I wish I could, just once again, rewind those happy days of our childhood. Italiano, he said, Italiano, from the morning till the day said. Italiano, he said, Italiano, where are you now, our dear friend? The days of our childhood dreams, the dreams of our barefoot year, to our hearts so dear. Italiano, he said, Italiano, from the morning till the day said. Italiano, he said, Italiano, where are you now, our dear friend? Italiano, oh, we call him Italiano.
Lepa Brena. Lepa Brena.
At the times, says Stefan, when I had been busy doing the projects of the big time, the best and the most inspiring way of my relaxation was to listen to the music of my dear friends back in Yugoslavia. Now, says Stefan, in La Jolla and Hollywood, California, I often listen to the music of my friends Nikola, Zoran, Uznia, Sabina, Kemal, and Lech Pobrena. It feels good to travel back in time in the comfortable vehicle named music. This was in 1967, in Belgrade, Serbia, Yugoslavia, says Stefan, 2 years before Sharon's tragic death. I was impressed with Sharon Tate's beauty and with the beauty of her eyes. In particular, I composed a song for her eyes. Here is the song entitled Sharon Tate's Eyes, combined with one of the guitar riffs of my own.
Sharon, my love. Whenever I see your eyes, I feel strong emotion. Sharon, my love.
Sharon loved Tess of the D'Urbervilles by Thomas Hardy, and suggested to her husband, Roman Polanski, to make a movie. So he did in 1979, entitled Tess. He dedicated the movie to his late wife Sharon. The master filmmaker had chosen Nastasia Akinsky, the woman with beautiful eyes, to play the title role. It's only rock and roll, but I like it. The Rolling Stones are, says Stefan, the mountain of the rock music. The Beatles are the top of that mountain. Keith Richards is, says Stefan, a unique composer. He can compose the songs that only Sir Mick Jagger can sing, such as The Midnight Rambler. Sir Mick Jagger is a unique singer. He is the only one who can sing The Midnight Rambler, among other Keith's songs. I consider, in part, says Stefan, John Milton's Paradise Lost, as Milton's sympathy for the devil. Milton expresses that in a subtle way, not easily recognized. Sir Mick Jagger and Keith Richards are, on the other hand, blatant about it. Sir Mick demands the sympathy for the devil. My Dr. Falstaff, says Stefan, is quite different. He is categorical, no sympathy for the devil. Falstaff wants Lucifer absolutely dead, meaning Falstaff wants Lucifer expelled from all of the 22 sibling universes. Falstaff managed to expel Lucifer from our Atlantis universe, starting with February 11, 2001. There is no more Lucifer in our universe. But there are 21 more sibling universes, whereby Lucifer freely operates. The Prince of Darkness has left behind in the Atlantis universe the multitudes of faithful followers. So, there is lots of work yet to be done by Falstaff. Good luck to Falstaff. Here is my guitar, and me, says Stefan, performing Death of Lucifer in my Slavic English, and in California earthquake rhythm, my very own.
Please allow me to introduce myself. I'm a man of wealth and fame. I've been around for many long years, puzzling you with my game. Pleased to meet you. Hope you guess my name. So if you meet me, have some courtesy, show some manners, have some taste, and say hello, Mr. Lucifer, or a Leo soul to waste. Thank you, Mick Jagger. Thank you, Keith Richards. There's no need to fear Lucifer anymore. Lucifer was expelled from the Atlantis universe, our universe, on February 11, 2001, thanks to Dr. Falstaff. There are 22 sibling universes created by Paul the Giver, the Supreme Being. All of them are populated with human beings like you and me. You will find this in my fiction fantasy novel, Falstaff Trilogy, Book 1, Ephemeron, The Particle of Time. Book 2, Dr. Falstaff versus Lucifer in the fight for immortality of the human race. Book 3, Death of Lucifer, the grace of the Atlantis race. Death of Lucifer, the grace of the Atlantis race. Hail Atlantis.
Here are, says Stefan, some of my tunes. Both the originals and the rewrites. I hope you will like it.
When I walk through that door, will baby be polite? 'Cause if you don't behave, I won't cry on you. If you want my love and take my advice, you treat me nice. But don't be cruel to a heart that's true. Don't be cruel heart is true. You say you got kisses and swear it to be true, but if you care, come over here and make me know you do. I remember I was trying to sleep, Lord, I told her he can sing, and I adore him just forever. He's just my golden memory. What a fantasy, what a joy divine, leaning on the everlasting guard, leaning, leaning on the everlasting guard. Święty Boże, święty wielki, święty bezśmiertny, pomiluj nas. Almighty Father, mighty immortal, all the giver, have mercy on us. You're not with us, we're blue. Alice, we miss you.
Love and Physics in the 1960s. Songs, the originals and the rewrites, by the Alexander Stefan.
Yeah, you were sure far back in my mind, sure far back in my heart, sure far back, make me start falling in love with you. I love you so. Pretty baby, please don't go. Let's live and love while the flame is strong. As you know, you will not be young for long. Come by here, my Lord, kumbaya, kumbaya. Come by here, my Lord, kumbaya. Save us from the sin of hate that drags us into darkest throat, the darkness of the down below. Come by here, my Lord, kumbaya, kumbaya. Come by here, my Lord, kumbaya. Come by here from the up above, where the lights always glow. Come by here below. Come by here, my Lord, kumbaya, kumbaya. Come by here, my Lord, kumbaya. Come on, baby, let's take a rest.
Come on baby, be alright. Just be my guest tonight. My oh my, you're so fine. Everything's gonna be alright. Just be my guest tonight. I'm gonna tell you how it's gonna be. You're gonna give your love to me.